All right, so this is the second session of the player interviews for Shiftedlands, and here today with me is Michael and Elizabeth.
Yep.
Hello. My name is Michael Massengill. I am one of the plot marshals at Shiftedlands. I am probably best known for the character Jedit.
I'm Elizabeth Seward. I am a storyteller at Shiftedlands. I'm basically plot light, and my character I'm most known for is Anya.
Awesome. So we brought you guys in today just to, I really wanted to kind of show a lot of the newer players like what people use in their characters, like how they portray their characters, um, what the experience is like, and I really I felt that my videos were being limited by just only my experience for the most part, and I really wanted to share some people, which is why I've brought you guys here today. So what brought you guys into LARPing in the first place? Like, not doesn't have to be Shifted Land specifically, but like what attracted you guys to LARPing?
So, myself, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons in college, and one of the people at my table had tried Shifted Lands a couple of months previously, and said, "Hey, Michael, you do fencing. I did fencing in college. You play Dungeons and Dragons. You'd love this."
Yeah.
Um, I I thought, I don't know. I'm not sure. It seems a little strange, but okay, first time's free. I'll give it a try. And that was 21 years ago this month.
Oh,
So that was
crazy.
2002.
So for me, it was Michael that introduced LARPing to me, but I had known about it for a while. I've always played tabletop games and went to the Renfest obsessively multiple times a year to get my fix, but I never really applied actually reenacting and role playing characters, fantasy characters specifically like this until 6 years ago.
About that, yeah.
About
And
6 years ago.
we've both played several other LARPs as well. Dystopia Rising, Canar, Carps. We've tried a bunch of things, but Shifted Lands is what personally keeps bringing me back.
Yeah. So
Yep,
what? How did?
agreed.
So how did you get introduced to specifically Shifted Lands then? I know Massengill or Michael said that it was a D and D friend, but how? What about and
Yeah.
oh, and then, like you
Um,
introduced Elizabeth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Elizabeth was somebody that I met through mutual friends, and similar, she just kind of seemed like um, somebody who would really get into character acting when she was gaming, and so I was like, hey, you would love this. You should at least give it a try, see how it is. The guy who brought me unfortunately doesn't play anymore. He didn't stick with it. I did. Uh,
It,
and we've brought several friends into the community over the years.
Yeah.
it took me a few stop and starts to get into it, but also had to navigate my work schedule.
Oh, also talk about how you were observing first. Like that was
Yes.
a big thing.
So at Shifted Lands, you can, in particular, the easiest is at Indiana game day events, which are inside a pavilion and they're shorter games, so just one day. Um, I observed with a headband on that indicated I was not in game, so I was not a character to interact with. And I just observed two games before I considered later in the year actually participating in the game. It really helped my anxiety and to get used to people hitting each other with foam sticks really fast.
Yeah. That
But
can
it
be a bit
helped
overwhelming.
acclimate me. Yes, I can get really bad stage fright, but that was super helpful. Was being allowed to just watch, which we do.
I mean, it can be
Yeah.
intimidating to just jump in the deep end like that.
Agree.
And I think that since you're talking to um, newer players or people who are considering trying it out, knowing that that's an option, I feel is good because I feel like a lot of people might be like Elizabeth was and just kind of terrified to try this, afraid of messing something up or being awkward, and just watch, see how
Yeah,
the flow is.
yeah. There's it's completely free to show up and just watch. Uh, so then, what is your guys' experience with Shiftedlands been as a whole? So you've played for 21 years, and Elizabeth, I believe, said 6-ish, 7-ish.
Yep.
So about the same as me, actually.
So, it's been a very positive experience for me. It's a community of people that we get together, at least for me, twice a month. It fills the time. It's something productive and social I can do that I really, really enjoy more than other maybe other activities where going clubbing or going to a movie or whatnot.
It's
We're
way more
we're
interactive than a movie.
It's very interactive. I've made a lot of my current friend group is shifted land people. It's something fun and creative that we can do together, and overall, very positive.
So I'm actually a bit more of a mixed bag, but then I've got a lot more time under my belt. Um,
With the good comes the bad. You know.
right. Well, I mean, so
Especially the more you move up in.
well, there's that, but no, it's more a case of I've been with the game for the vast majority of its lifespan. It had only been running for 4 years before I joined, and so I've watched the game and the game culture evolve
Over
over
decades.
2 decades.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I feel like earlier on, it was a much more mixed bag, um, in that there was a lot of CVC early on. There was a lot more character death happened. Um,
It's a much
and it
more
really,
hardcore kind of game.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, for anybody who's into like World of Warcraft, um, old school Shifted Lands is a lot like classic World of Warcraft, uh, where it's just on hard mode. Um, and the current game is a lot more accommodating. There's a lot more um, emphasis on community building and community storytelling.
That was
Um,
one of the things I didn't talk with Matt about it in the recording, but I talked with Matt outside of the game, outside of the recording a little bit, and I expressed to him this idea that old shifted, like, if you think about like first edition Dungeons and Dragons, it
yeah,
was a
yeah,
completely
that,
different game than 5th edition, and I think the same kind of evolution has happened within LARPing, where a lot of the LARPs
I agree.
originally were like 1st edition. It was like scary. Like the whole point was that you could die really easily. Survival was the thing. And then over the course of evolution of the culture, it's turned into much more of a collaborative storytelling game for drama and expression and creativity than it is just a hardcore survival simulator.
And I would definitely agree with that. And also, obviously, as members of the plot team and the storyteller team, um, we are a bit more committed, and I'm a bit more motivated by my early experiences. That I want the game that people play today to be better than the game that I joined 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So back in the day, it was a lot more, if I make it to become a dragon or become a paladin, then XYZ. Whereas nowadays, it is not if, it is when I achieve these character goals. They are more. It is more assumed that you will definitely be alive to attempt and reattempt achievements. Um, obviously characters can die.
Yeah.
We've had like 4 resurrections last month,
Yeah.
but um,
There's
you know,
still the threat, like they have to push you to that edge to achieve the feeling of overcoming something, you know.
right, right. Without challenge, it's meaningless. But again, like we focus a lot more on story now, But my overall stance really is that the game has been bending in a more and more positive light the longer that it has gone on. And it's less about, like you say, hardcore survival and more about the community and the community of characters
Yeah.
alongside it.
And LARP itself has become more popular
Yeah.
over time. There are more people LARPing. It is People have learned from the past because also keep in mind if your LARP game is too, let's say, prestigious or arrogant or too hardcore, then the longevity of your game is affected, especially in this LARP culture these days.
That's true. I mean, if I went to a new LARP and it was just
Gatekeepers.
gatekeeping and kick you in the face and sorry, your brand new character died a bunch.
Yeah, that would be awful.
I probably wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and then there goes your LARP.
right, and so,
Yeah.
We live and die by the new blood.
Yep.
And with so many other LARPs popping up now, there is a competition in a way.
There's
So,
that too.
yeah. So oh man, that's such interesting like thought process to like go through. So like, what do you think that the culture as it stands today is evolving towards? Do you think we're like still moving towards that collaborative role play, or do you think that we've achieved it through? Do you think what impact do you think certain characters have had on that? Do you think certain individuals have pushed things that way, or do you think it's been a mass movement?
I think it's so
Both.
both. Like I personally would say that progress is always important, and I don't necessarily think that um, it's ever something that you can just sit up on a shelf, dust it off occasionally, and look at it. You got to maintain it.
Yeah.
So I think that we've come a long way. I think that there's always going to be something we could be doing better, something we can improve. Um, Otherwise, you stagnate.
Yeah.
I would say that like for as much as LARP is um, frequently portrayed as a male-dominated slice of nerddom, we have a lot of women that play.
It's a pretty 50-50 split nowadays.
It certainly feels that way, and it definitely wasn't that 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
20 years ago, it was maybe a quarter women. Most of them, the partners of the person who brought them. I realize we're not exactly breaking the mold there with Elizabeth and I, but um, a lot of people would have brought their partners. Those partners stuck around, whether or not the relationship did.
And nowadays we
Now,
have groups of women that like hear about it and they're like, "Oh man, I can't wait to do this," and they feel comfortable and it's a safer space for them to enter this kind of culture.
right. Shiftedlands prides itself on being an inclusive space for everybody. We don't want anybody to come to our game and not feel safe, not feel like they belong.
Or welcomed.
Yeah, exactly. We're End of the day, we're just a bunch of nerds, dressed up in fancy clothes and pretending to be important.
Yeah.
And you no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter what kind of a person you are, you can achieve that here, and at
Yeah.
least that's the goal. That's what we try for.
Yeah, and you can play kind of any archetype of a character, which is a
You absolutely can.
which is a good segue to what what do you guys feel that you portray with your character? What are you trying to accomplish with your not per se your goals, But it could be your goals. But like, what archetypes or what type of things are you trying to portray with your given characters? I know you guys have multiple characters, so feel free to just pick one of them.
Well, I will pick Anya, because Anya, full name, Lady Anya van Brecht,
Ah,
is
Yeah.
she is the squire to Sir Jedit.
That's true.
We are both paladins, and we do paladin themed roleplay. With Anya, I play her very. She's a hero, of course. However, she has she has some of my anxiety as a person dialed up a little bit. Except in this case, Anya can actually, in this LARP world, and the kind of character I have and the skills I have, I can actually accomplish some fantastical things
Yeah, Anya's
to
a lot
help
more
save the
competent.
world.
Yeah. Oh, Anya's a lot more competent than she thinks she is.
The In the fantasy world, I get to wave a cool sword and cast healing spells and buffing spells and protect people in a more physical, visceral way in the fantasy. It really, um, it I get satisfied from that. I enjoy augmenting this positive aspect of myself as a person, as a helper, as a leader, as a someone that just wants the world to be better. I enjoy the emotional role play of taking care of sick and tired NPCs or fighting vampires and bad guys. Um, yeah, this for specifically Anya, the archetype is um, a young lady, or in this case, a rabbit lady, on her hero's journey, and she's um, yeah, she's not quite apprentice yet anymore, but she's in the later stages. Like I guess Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I would put her there.
Yeah,
yeah, a little
We're-
progressed.
that middle
Yeah.
level approximate in our game.
Yeah. Jedit is was my main.
Obi-Wan.
He started out very much the soldier, and later picked up magic and became a paladin. Um, and the thing about the paladin path in our game is when you have mastered the fighting and healing, you can become a paladin. It's an achievement that you can earn. When you do that, the plot team gets together and we uh, look at your character's actions and motivations and decide which path of paladin that you are. You will either be a sun, a moon, or a black sun. And you can kind of guess what those things mean.
Yeah.
Um,
if
and so
you
where
if you're interested in the paladin thing, we have a video covering paladins. Please feel free to go check that out.
we do. Yep. So Jedit always thought of himself as a sun when he augmented. I'm glossing over a lot. I played him for 17 years, so there's a lot there.
Jedit was a
But
very long running character staple kinda in the community.
yeah, he was kind of one of the pillars for a long time, but he was a moon, and so his archetype, while he was still a paladin, and he was still always fight the good fight, always turn out his pockets for the poor, always be there to heal the sick, injured, and even mentally broken. Um, he was much more the Dark Knight archetype, very Batman, where and he was noted to have said at one point to a fellow knight, um, every day I get up and I do a paladin's job. I do it with none of your prestige or praise or accolades. I do the job for people who hate me, who fear me, And tomorrow, I'll get up and I'll do the job again. I may have to do some things that I'm not proud of. And I blacken myself so that you can stay golden.
Yeah.
And you don't get more paladin than that.
Man,
And so
what an archetype.
it was a whole mood. I really once I got my mark clarified to moon, I really just kind of leaned in on it and said, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be a son to be a paladin, but I'm just going to do this my way.
Yeah.
He definitely had lines that he was not willing to cross, but he would bend things, and he would take actions that a true sunburst paladin, uh, in the sense of that word, wouldn't be able to do, but they needed to be done for the good of everybody. So he's like, fine, I will commit the sin. I'll cry about it later, but at least the world is safe.
Yeah. The sacrificial part of Paladin,
Yeah, very much.
the
He
duty
was
side.
yeah, he was self-sacrificing to that point where he was willing to sacrifice his reputation even, in order to achieve what was good.
So that kind of
Um,
sounds like a character arc for the most part. Were there? So I imagine over 17 years you probably got to do a lot with Jedit. What's
I
an
did.
what's an arc that Jedit went through that you're proud of participating with? Like proud that like Jedit went through a certain arc. I know you kind of expressed one. You could talk more in
Right.
depth about that, or you could go
Oh,
into a
sure.
different arc, whichever you'd like.
Well, so I mean, he had several, but like probably um, one of the memories I'm most fond of was, we'll talk about his retirement because, so Jedit is no longer my PC. I reached a point with him where realistically his story had been played out, and I was looking to have him walk off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Um, and so after he had gone through all of these trials, all of these different uh, fights against various big bads in the Shiftedlands world, um, we came to a point where the world broke. I mean that literally. Like, the plane basically exploded and, then grew new land to fill in the gaps. And so the world of Shifted Lands today is about 10 times bigger than it was, uh, previous to, when did Ragnarok, 2018,
20,
2019?
It was
end
right
of
before.
2018.
Yeah. It was right
Yeah,
before the
we
Great
call it
Plague.
yeah we call it Ragnarok because it was a dragon themed apocalypse. Um, so after Ragnarok, the world got way bigger, and a lot of the more powerful and established NPCs, had to flee the disaster to other planes of existence, and they're stuck there now. And so one of the elder paladins came to Jedit and told him, um,
We got to fill in the
"So
gaps.
things have gotten really bad here. You're possibly the most powerful paladin left on the world. And somebody needs to rebuild the Order of the Paladin Knights.
We got some duty for you.
Yeah, I hate if there was somebody else, I would ask them. And all of my knights, Anya was there, Ronnie was there, every PC paladin was there, and I turned to look at the other knights, and I'm like, one of you, please, please, please tell me something. Give me a reason to not do this. And my second, Ronnie, just very, very quietly said, I can't do that, Jedit, but I can tell you about a million reasons why you have to do this.
Damn.
And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I turned back to Steve playing Gondor so that the other paladins couldn't see the tears coming up in my eyes, and I accepted. And so now Jedit, in his retirement, is he's not the leader per se. He's a figurehead, really more like a chief justice of the Supreme Court
Yeah.
type role. He is one among equals in the upper tier of the paladins. He has the most prestigious keep, the most coveted assignment, but he's a very high-ranking paladin now.
Yeah.
Occasionally we see him. It's not very often.
He is.
We like to keep those characters feeling larger than life, so we try to refer to him, what he's doing, what's going on, without him being on camera much.
Yeah, so he's when you retire a really big character, typically not every time, and definitely definitely with a whole lot of limits, but
Mhm.
you can retire big people, big characters into NPC spots, to an extent.
To an extent. Well, basically, anytime you decide you're done with a character, you can approach the plot team and say, "Hey, I'd like to retire Jedit," and
You can
so
retire other
what?
people's characters. Cool.
No, no,
I know,
no.
I know. Just kidding.
No,
I
no,
think
no, no.
no, because otherwise I can think of a few people that would have gotten
Yeah.
voted off the island by now. But no, you tell the plot team you're interested in retiring. Uh, Sometimes for long running characters, if you have a hanging thread, you're like, hey, I'd like to retire, but I have this plot line that I've been pursuing. Is there a way we can button that up, so that I can have closure before this character goes away? And we do our best to accommodate that. And then that character becomes an NPC controlled by plot. Occasionally, you'll get to play him if, like,
People
theoretically.
visit
So
Jedit. I think I've seen people literally go
yeah,
visit Jedit before.
that's true. But like, if somebody like asked for, like, sent a run for Jedit to mentor them to become a knight, that is something that theoretically could happen. Given his station, it would be a very long, drawn out, but interesting apprenticeship, because he's too busy to just hang out and school you
Adventure
on stuff.
anymore. Yeah.
You're going to get the powers way faster talking to Anya or one of the currently active
Yeah.
PC knights.
Speaking of
But
Anya, uh
speaking of Anya,
yeah, what arc have you played out with Anya? So you were talking about overcoming anxiety and like becoming a full paladin now that you're a full paladin. Are there any arcs that you're really proud of participating in?
I have several arcs. However, I can quickly talk about two of them. They were rather short.
Sounds good.
Well, one's ongoing, but the short one is recently my character, as of about a year ago,
yep,
has her own squire.
Woo!
he's almost ready too.
Arden, and in October of this year, 2023, he should be ready to learn his first paladin skill in the game and become a baby paladin, basically.
Yeah.
So we were fighting Entropius, the Lord of Decay, earlier in the year, and well, to solve this issue, because he is like the Chaos Lords are extremely powerful, we needed to perform an ancient magic ritual to lock him temporarily in like a pocket dimension. Unfortunately, part of the ritual to do that required the sacrifice of someone, which happened to be, well,
Yep.
my
The
little square.
aspiring paladin stepped up and said, "I guess it's me then."
Yep. Due to a circumstance of events, this younger character, this newer-ish player at the time, he's like 2 years playing, I think.
I feel like he's longer than that, but
No,
time is
gotta
weird.
Gotta be 2 years.
Time is meaningless anymore. If you get Clayton on, have him talk about
Yeah.
the Mineral Lord and that arc, like that.
He had a great arc.
He had a good one. I'm proud of that
So
one.
his arc ended with the Mineral Lord saying, "You need to do this thing because reasons, in-game magic reasons, for you to trap the Lord of Decay in your body,
What,
basically."
yeah, what it was the Mineral Lord basically turned Arden into an avatar, more or less.
Yeah.
And it was the Chaos Lord needs to make contact with your body, and then this construct will suck it into itself.
Yeah.
But
Like a
when its spirit enters you, well, your spirit has to go somewhere. You're going to die for this. Understand that up front. And he goes, "Yep, guess so."
Very
Like that's
Paladin
the
thing
most
to do.
Paladin thing. Exactly.
It super was.
So how
We
this
might have a theme
involves
here.
how this involves me is as I'm a I just finished being an Elder Paladin. I would say you could say in the in-game lore, maybe a little young to take on a squire or right on the cusp. But we are in times of war, you see.
Like Obi-Wan
We have
picking up
chaos
Anakin.
lords. So like if Luke had baby Luke, um, to be like, so this is where we're at. We're also in a similar age group as well. The thing is this is my opportunity to have learned from role playing with Sir Jedit and what his character taught me about being a professional, about being stoic and reserved and very knightly. So while everyone is like bawling their eyes out, role playing, crying that Arden's gonna sacrifice himself, and Anya, I have this opportunity to role play. Hey, you're doing great work. I am also having emotions for you, but this is our duty: is to save the world.
Sometimes that means we die.
Sometimes we die, and what you're doing is very noble. And I spent that whole evening just watching or having a hand on his shoulder and not role playing um, grief, unlike his friends and frankly some other paladins. Um,
Yeah.
just just getting lost in the
That
sauce
was
there,
that
but
was like Anya stepping into the role of that was the
it was a role
push.
play yes, that was the role play opportunity to evolve my character as well as Arden's character.
Yeah, and I mean, it really was like you said, like Obi-Wan Anakin kind of thing. This is my little brother type
Yep.
thing. Whereas Jedit is like old Obi-Wan with Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had definitely evolved towards that archetype of more the teacher and less the warrior in his last year of play.
And yeah, so it culminated with Arden sacrificing himself.
He got better.
And well, he got better. When you're new, your vitality loss isn't that drastic. But I saw as the Chaos Lord, he's been fighting us. It was awful. His stats were terrible. He's a major boss fight of a mini arc in the story, and as he's about to touch Arden, I lock eyes with him as, knight to squire, and I nod.
And kaboom.
Kaboom. Fucking blows up.
Damn.
It was so good.
Yep.
It was so good.
But
So
he got better. But I had a moment of like, I'm doing everything to emote compassion and love while all through my eyes while remaining a beacon of hope and of order to everyone else because that's my job as a paladin.
yeah,
So yeah, that was really fun.
very Paladin-y. So those were both some like really cool arcs, especially for Paladins. This is definitely a Paladin heavy video.
It really is. I mean, we can talk about other stuff.
Nah, Paladins are
The-
cool, man. I want to play a Paladin.
There's a lot of dude. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of built-in flavor and role play. Like when you say like I want to be a paladin, like everybody knows more or less what that means. It might look a little different from one person to the next, but the word carries so much connotation to it that
It carries
you
culture
have
with
a
it.
really good right. You have an idea of what that means. Whereas if I say I want to be a chronomancer, well, okay, like who knows
Yeah, that could be
what
role played a
skin
bunch of different ways.
anybody. Yeah,
That could be
well, who knows
Crazy
what
Hermit, or
skin?
it could be Doctor Who, or it could be Santa
Right,
Claus.
right, right. Yeah, no, you could absolutely do any of those, but it's more while it is more flexible, it also is more vague. It's harder to get a handle on who am I as a chronomancer than it is who am I as
As
paladin.
a paladin, exactly.
So it's definitely one of those things that definitely comes with a lot of
So
pre-generated role playing in a way that other
yeah.
archetypes do not have.
So with that character growth and that experience, what is and the like and having completed those arcs, what's have you so like one of the things I think about LARPing is that you get to explore an aspect of yourself through a character in a safe environment,
Yep.
right? And so through those arcs or through that character, what is one thing that Michael or Elizabeth has taken away from playing that character? Like, how has your LARP character impacted your real life?
Well,
That's a big question.
it's huge, and the thing is also like we're possibly not the best people to ask about that in particular, because we play multiple different characters each.
Mm.
Whereas somebody like Matt, like so strongly identifies with his main character that um, there's a bit more interplay. Like
There's a lot more
my
distance between your characters and yourselves than there are for some people who.
well, no, it's more accurate to say that like so like Jedit is myself as a knight, as a warrior, as a mentor figure. That was his role play and his reflection of me. I have a Beastman Fox trickster who is more my ingenuity side predominantly. He's a bit more selfish, low bar,
Okay.
a bit more selfish than Jedit, and more family focused. He isn't as strong a person in terms of raw physical strength, so he thinks his way around a problem. Um, I have a mage called Jerithander who is much more uh, low key evil than the others. He is far more looking for opportunities to be exploited. He does not care about the community or individuals for the most part, except for a couple.
So
And
let
so all of these are different facets of me, but I basically like look at how am I feeling this weekend before I pick one.
ah
Like if I'm not feeling charitable, maybe I've had a bad week at work. I'm gonna play my evil mage instead of my paladin.
yeah yeah. So
A lot
Elizabeth,
harder than
how do you feel about that question? What's one thing you could have taken away from playing your character, like as Elizabeth versus the character, or do you feel similar to Michael?
Um, I'm looking at it in terms of life experiences, um, gaining confidence from role playing. Like I said,
that's a fair perspective.
I have extremely bad public speaking stage fright, but it's actually lessened over time because you kind of have to talk in front of people, and it kind of over time, as you get more into it in roleplay, you are actually training yourself to get better at social interactions on the spot
That's
and
fair.
quick thinking and becoming more creative as you roleplay and get immersed. And has raised my confidence levels in this way. That's a takeaway for me.
So for it wasn't particularly like a given character, but it was more like the LARPing itself, which I mean it's just as much of the in the same spirit of the question, you know.
Oh yeah, and like I also have, you could say, an evil mage, in a way. Um, just it's fun to not be yourself and make different decisions than you would normally. And but in yes, in general, it's the confidence in basically you're learning improv over time as
Awesome.
well.
Yeah. So now that we've had a chance to explore some of your guys' characters, what would you say to somebody who's diving right into Shifted Lands? Like they played their first game, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love it. Where do I get more of this? Like, what would you say to somebody who wants to get more engaged with the game?"
NPC.
NPC is a good way to get engaged, involved. Um, but honestly, hmm, I would say that um, talk to people before game, after game.
And
Get
hang
to
around for
know,
Some
cleanup.
of my
Like,
yeah,
favorite conversations have been during cleanup.
a lot of the best stuff has been cleanup and afters.
it allows you
Um,
to debrief and compartmentalize and,
you
you
also
know,
get a rundown on scenes that you may have missed
yeah,
because you were doing something else.
sharing.
Um, the community is honestly the best part of the game. Um, and
We wouldn't have
we
a game
want
without the
you,
community.
right, well,
Yeah.
we want you to become a member of the community, not just a person who shows up, plays, and leaves. We want to get to know you. We want to fold you into our little social club. Um, because, like I said, like there have been so many strong friendships made over the years through Shifted Lands. Like I would not be the same person without it.
Yeah.
Um, but I would definitely say that um, getting more engaged in the game, think about who you want to portray as an perhaps an idealized self-image of yourself, um, and look for characters who um, who align with that. So if you're playing a paladin, look to the other people who play paladins, and don't just get to know their characters, get to know the player outside of the context of the game, and you may find them to be fun people, approachable people. If you want to play a shady character, look at who's playing the shady characters and maybe talk to them at cleanup and go, hey, so I get the idea that you might be playing a bit of a scoundrel, shall we
a
say.
shifty fellow.
Yeah, how how does that work for you? Like, can you give me pointers on playing a not so squeaky clean guy and not getting my hands chopped off, um, or cursed to uphold the law, or talk to Clayton about that, for sure.
Yeah. I think that yeah, Clayton's on the list of people to interview. Because
Oh, I hope he is.
I had the lovely experience to pick him up and drive with him to Michigan and then drive him back to Ohio. I was able to
Yeah,
like have
like let's
multiple car ride conversations with him about the game and like about him because I just came back. For context, I just came back out of COVID I haven't played for like 4 years in a row, almost like 3 years for sure.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
Clayton is one of the newer people, quote unquote newer people for me to
you
meet.
joined after you did.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and
But put a pin in that for a second, Sal.
yeah,
So for the listeners, like, so Solomon lives in Indiana. Clayton lives in Ohio, and the game was in Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah, you get to
Um,
travel to meet
so
people.
so you know the people again. This is a community. Clayton needed a ride. Solomon said, "I got you. I'm passing vaguely along that route. I got you."
Yeah, and I'd
And
never met him
thank
before.
you for
I
yeah.
had seen him once in
And
game.
right, you barely know the guy, but you're like, oh hey, he's a fellow shifted player, so he can't be that bad. Uh, and if he does, he can walk the rest of the way home or get an Uber.
Yeah.
Uh, but,
There's somebody that lives in Ohio.
but no, anyway, I just wanted to highlight that
Yeah.
that's important. Again, community is
Community,
a big deal.
yeah, we want to help people. Like people actively go out of their way to like provide resources and um like and help you in any way that they normally can. Like somebody, and like that was the thing too, was like I had a problem because I go from Indiana and I drive up to Michigan, and there's a ton of traffic and construction in Michigan at the moment. And so I said, "Hey guys, what how do you guys make the trip to Michigan?" Like right, like this has nothing inherently to do with the
Sure.
game at all. It was just, some
Right.
life centered thing. And they were like, "Oh, you go through Ohio instead." Like that's like the secret hack is you go through Ohio. And then
It is. It's
conveniently that
no
same
joke.
week, Arden was like, or Clayton was like, "Hey, I need a ride. I'm in Ohio." And I was like, "Oh, perfect. Like I'll help out this one guy and I'll try out this new route." And it was, it was a win-win. And
Awesome.
tons of situations like that happen all the time in our community. Um,
Mhm.
let's circle back to Elizabeth with diving into the game and being more engaged, or engaging more with the game, I'd say. What do you have anything to add on that?
Well, like we said earlier, NPCing is a great way to learn the skills of the game, talk with more people behind the scenes, understand LARP in general, and get your fix by playing many characters instead of the one.
You also get a good view of the back end of the game when you NPC, and so you have an idea how an event runs.
Yes. Getting involved by cleanup, start of the game, chatting more people. I recommend joining our Discord. We are very active every day. We're always willing to help and talk to new players, answer questions, and just general chit chatter as well, and get our fix on for LARP in between LARP.
Also, pet picks.
Pet picks as well. Uh,
Pet pics? What did you mean by? Oh yeah, like pictures of pets.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
post a picture of your cat. I guarantee you will get conversation over it.
yeah. Oh my gosh, the ferret the other day that got posted, that thing was adorable.
Yeah, Bowen has ferrets,
Yeah.
and they're adorable.
Yeah. Awesome. So did either of you guys have any closing thoughts that you wanted to really like talk about uh with the opportunity here? Or
Okay, so I'll start by going with we're presuming the listener has not played a game of Shifted Lands, possibly never even LARPed before, and so I'll give you the same pitch that I give everybody else that I talk to about my hobby, um, which is a lot of people. I'm not exactly shy about being a gigantic nerd, and that's Solomon. Uh, what is the same thing about every vacation that you've ever taken in your life?
I've tried to have fun while I'm there.
You.
Oh yeah, me.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
Same old Solomon. Well, when you come to Shifted Lands, it's like a vacation from Solomon. It's a vacation from being you. You can be as noble a knight or as heartless a rogue as you decide your character is, and you can explore new aspects of you. And I guarantee you, when you are fleeing for your life down a dark trail with four liches hot on your heels,
That has happened.
well, I might be speaking from experience.
Me too.
Guarantee you, you are not thinking about your mortgage. You are not thinking about your electric bill. You are not thinking about that guy that cut you off in traffic. You are there in the world of Shifted Lands, and everything else is secondary to that.
That is a really
While
good
you're there,
pitch. That is an insanely good pitch, actually. I gotta tell some of my buddies that I'm trying to get, and like
I'm,
that is a
I
really good pitch.
share the video. I mean,
Yeah,
that's been my pitch for years and years.
a
And
vacation
it
from
stays true.
you.
Yep.
Uh,
I can't even take credit for that. That's from Total Recall.
oh, fair enough. Uh,
But it's accurate. It absolutely fits.
yeah.
We make memories. That's our business.
Any closing thoughts from you, Elizabeth?
Well, um, I I encourage people to try new things. Your first game is free. No pressure, no rush. You can even watch a game and not actually feel compelled to play it.
White headband out of game.
I know a bunch of people
But
who have brought their parents along to just like let their parents see what they're doing, or like
That's
try to get their parents involved with it. I'm trying to get my
that's
dad out
probably a
here.
good idea.
My dad loves
Well,
making like bread, and I'm like, dude, you could just sit in game and just make bread the whole weekend and have the
oh,
best
you
time of your
absolutely
life.
could. Well, I mean, we so sorry. I'm terrible about cutting people off, but 21 years ago, Michael Dunnigan came to Shifted Lands in October. I want to say a month later, he brought his mom and dad, and the three of them are still playing this game together as a family. Um, 21 years later. Um, yeah, our youngest players are like 13, and our oldest players are in their 60s.
That's crazy. All right.
It really is
Well,
when you think about it.
thank you guys both so much for taking the time out of your day to help spread the word about Shifted Lands and share your experiences. Um, Thank you guys so much for your time here.
Hey, thanks for having us, Solomon.
All right, and catch the next
thank you
player.
very much.
Yeah, catch the next
Yeah,
player interview uh sometime soon. We're probably gonna upload Papageno and this one, and then we'll see if I can get Clayton in tonight. But hopefully within the next week we'll also get Clayton's interview in. He's awesome. I just I like I said I just started talking to him, and he's been a real cool guy so far. So again, thank you guys for your
yeah.
time. Check out the channel. If you liked Paladins, go find our Paladin video. There is a video about Paladins. All right, that out of the way.
Have a good night.
Good night, guys.
Recommended. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.